Yeah. No. So, all right, different topic. You're a power metal fan. If I had to put you on the spot right now, what's your favorite Gamma Ray album?
My favorite Gamma Ray album. Oh, okay, that's easy for me. Because it's childhood memory. Somewhere out in space. I love Silver. I heard it
Yeah.
times and times. I had
Yeah.
the CD in my old car, and it was
So,
on
yeah, so I'll
show
tell
television.
yeah, so I will tell you number 1, that's my favorite Gamma Ray album.
Okay.
And it's interesting. When I don't know if you've heard it, but the upcoming Halloween album, there's a song called "We Can Be Gods" that Kai Hansen wrote, and it has that same, for me, it has that same feeling
Oh,
of
really?
"Somewhere Out in Space." Yeah, there's like, so when you listen to the record, it's the fourth song on the album.
Uh-huh.
It has there's this bridge part that goes before the chorus of the song, and when you hear the vocal melodies of everybody sing, all three singers singing on it,
Oh,
it
great.
it 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 like feels like "Somewhere Out in Space." It feels like it could be on that album. and
Wow.
and it's interesting too because you can't predict which, normally on the album you can kind of think, okay, this person's going to sing this line, this person's going to sing that line, but this record you don't know who's going to sing next. But
Ah,
it
okay.
reminds me of somewhere he actually revisited a lot of the sci-fi alien themes, and there's a song that reminds me of "Somewhere Out in Space." That to me was like one of the definitive power metal albums. I remember that and the first Iron Savior album because they were kind of intertwined. They had a song. They both had a song together, believe it or not.
Okay.
Watcher in the Sky. That was actually, there were two different versions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like if the old Ozzy Osbourne Motorhead, they had each one did their own version of a song called Hellraiser way back in the day, and now uh, it's funny you mentioned "Somewhere Out in Space" because I could still go and listen to that album.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible record. It really is. It's so funny you mentioned that because I just reviewed the Halloween album and I'm like, this one song sounds like "Somewhere Out in Space," which
Oh,
is
I will give it a try. Good to mention.
which is really cool. Hey man, they got their air book out, so it's coming out too and on the RPM site. So yeah, but it's funny you mention that because that was the second song or second album when Kai started singing.
Yeah.
Again, they had Land of the Free, but "Somewhere Out in Space" was at a different level for me. But
Yeah.
it's cool that you mentioned that. Blind Guardian too. What's your favorite Blind Guardian album?
Oh, that's harder. Just to kick in, I'm very happy with the new one. I really like to listen to
Yeah.
it, but of
So
course,
same with what? Same with me. I think the newest album was really good.
yeah, it's awesome. But of course, there are also the childhood memories. But there's these three ones. It depends on my mood, but I I think Somewhere Far Beyond is
Yep.
that special one. I 2 days ago, I was driving my car and suddenly I felt like I need it now, and then I put it on and felt happy by listening to it. So depending on
That's
the story, it's Somewhere Far Beyond.
Yeah, that's still a monumental power metal release. It's probably one of my top maybe two or three records by them. I think, when you get to like Tales from the Twilight World, Somewhere Far Beyond, Imaginations from the Other
Yeah,
Side, Nightfall, Middle Earth, those four records. And it's crazy because they came out in the 90s
yeah,
when this music really wasn't all that big. I mean, it came out in the 90s
yeah.
that they were putting that kind of music out, which is crazy to think about.
I remember the time. I remember a good friend of mine who was a huge fan, and he came totally hyped to school and said, "It's a new single from Blind Guardian. You have to listen to it." And it was Mirror
Yeah.
Mirror, and I knew
Yep.
the first time I heard it, whoa, that's heavy. It's cool. It was the first time I got in touch with this band. He had some of this old Nokia not the smartphones, old Nokia phones, and one of the first ones where you could program your ringtones, just
Yeah. Yeah.
monophonic. And he
Yeah.
programmed Mirror Mirror on his Nokia phone every time you called him. It was beep 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 beep.
Yep. I
He was
remember,
happy.
man, I remember the CD single. I'll tell you a really funny story about that album. I started the show in 1998, and it was right
Hmm.
around the time that Nightfall Middle Earth came out. And I remember somebody from Virgin Records at the time, wanted to send me a song to check out, and we had to,
Okay.
because back then it was all you had to get CDs in the mail. It wasn't like streaming or anything like that.
Yeah.
I remember he sent me an MP3 of the song "The Curse of Fëanor," and
Oh yeah.
it took 45 minutes to download it.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So yeah, those were the old days, man. And I remember getting Hansi on the phone, and like he was shocked anybody even really knew the band back then, because metal was just like it was really not.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There are more people now into it now than they were back then in the 90s. It was like the dark ages. So pretty interesting. Yeah, Somewhere Far Beyond's a monumental album, man. It really is. And the crazy thing is, like Mob Rules, I mean, your first album was like in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So you were on the band was actually on Limb Music with all these other bands like Angra, and you had Rhapsody. I mean, that was like the big one that had come out. And so it's hard to believe the band's been around that long. Like I look at I remember I still have the first album, still the first CD I bought from the band. So it's interesting that after all this time, the band is still around, because a lot of the power metal bands, some of the newer ones really, I mean, some of them are still around, but a lot of them are gone. You just named one earlier. So, interesting. Yeah.
I think one, I don't know if this is the truth, no one can say, but we are often hear this, why is Mabuls not as big as other bands? And it's a good question, to be honest, but maybe this helped us through the year on the other side, because when you're in the music business, it's a quite hard business, and when you manage to reach a certain point where you can live, or where you have to live from this music, or where you're forced to do a lot of touring, and this leads to split a lot of bands. So bands who are higher often have to give up because they can't take this touring anymore, or they do so much that they can't do normal jobs anymore, but money isn't enough to keep the band alive. And this is what destroyed I guess a lot of these bands from this time. And the bands who remain are these ones who made it to the top, or bands like us who never reached that crucial moment. So we had the freedom to be creative, to do our music, and we were lucky enough that we were always able to do albums, to create music, to go on tour, to play shows, but on that level that everybody from us could manage it between the daily life. And I don't know if that's the reason, but it could be that a lot of bands broke down on this pleasure. Retrosite, for example, they also reached its crucial point, and at this point, they broke up because they couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
That happens. Some band, I can't remember the name of the band now, but I was talking to a former member of I can't remember what power metal band it was, but they were actually doing well, and they kind of hit this roadblock. Like they hit like writer's block, and they just couldn't think of anything that they could put out that would be good. And they just kind of said, you know what, let's just go on hiatus or call it a day. And that was it, so you run into that, or you just lose the drive to want to do it sometimes too. And you take a break and you realize that you don't want to revisit it right now, then maybe 10, 15 years you do. Hey, everybody. Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.